What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and Andrew Benintendi made his first appearance at Fenway Park this last weekend after being traded by the Red Sox in 2021. You guys seem to really like these videos where we take a look back at some of the trades the Red Sox have made and try and determine whether or not the Red Sox won. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about one of the more underrated trades of the Chaim Bloom era in the Andrew Benintendi trade. We're going to take a look at it. We're going to see if we can determine whether or not the Red Sox won or lost this trade, and if they did lose, why. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video. It helps out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. For those of you who don't remember the Andrew Benintendi trade in its entirety, I'm going to go over it quickly here. It was Andrew Benintendi to the Kansas City Royals in exchange for Franchi Cordero, Josh Winkowski, and 3 players to be named later. And those players ended up being Freddie Valdez, Luis De La Rosa, and Grant Gambrell. Now, 2 of those prospects actually came from the New York Mets. This ended up being a 3-team trade, but I don't want to muddy the waters and make everything super confusing. So all you have to remember is that the Red Sox traded away Andrew Benintendi and they got 5 prospects back. Now, looking at Andrew Benintendi, in his last year with the Red Sox, it was the COVID season, so it's not a ton to go off of, but he didn't perform all that well. In 2020, he had just a 103 average with a 25 OPS plus. Since being traded though, Benny really made a name for himself. In 2021 with the Kansas City Royals, Andrew Benintendi had a 276 average with a 117 OPS plus with 17 home runs and 73 RBIs, which is a pretty good season for Andrew Benintendi, especially coming off of a trade, but 2022 was where he truly broke out with the Kansas City Royals. In this year, he had a 320 average with the Royals, a 124 OPS plus, but only 3 home runs. A lot of this change in Andrew Benintendi's approach was more contact based as opposed to power based, and it really worked out for him, earning him his first All-Star appearance of his career. Here comes the tough part, because this is something every Red Sox fan dreads when they have a fan favorite player, and that is that after the All-Star break, Andrew Benintendi was traded to the New York Yankees by the Kansas City Royals. Since getting to the Yankees though, things have been a little bit tough for him. In 36 plate appearances, Andrew Benintendi has just a 191 average and an 82 OPS plus. Andrew Benintendi's been great since he left the Red Sox, but the real interesting part of this trade has been the players that we got in return. Of the group of prospects that we got back in the Andrew Benintendi deal, the 2 big ones were Josh Winkowski and Franchi Cordero. Now, we know exactly what has gone on with Franchi Cordero with the Red Sox after 2 kind of failed attempts at bringing him up to the big league level. In 2021, he was just not good all around, but in 2022, he had a little bit of a different story. He came up and was really great for the Red Sox at the start. He breathed some life into a position that was just lifeless at the beginning of the year, and his plate approach and the fact that he had some timely hits really helped the Red Sox early on in regaining some momentum after a really crappy start. But since that hot streak, Franchi Cordero was back to his old ways of being non-productive at the plate. That got him sent down eventually to the Worcester Red Sox for the 2nd year in a row, and Franchi Cordero in 2022 ended his time with the Red Sox hitting just .215 with an 82 OPS plus and 4 home runs in 214 plate appearances. Now, that's just simply not good numbers for a guy who was brought here under the assumption that his profile kind of put him as a power hitter. Unfortunately, too, for Franchi Cordero, the only playing time he could get on this Red Sox team was at first base. Now, Franchi Cordero has never been known for his fielding skills in his natural position in the outfield, and things only got worse for Franchi at first base. I don't really think I need to go into statistical details about how bad Franchi was at first base, because I think you all who have been watching games really know and don't need those numbers. Now, there is some potential there with Franchi Cordero, but the problem is Franchi's 27 years old. He's also had 2, I would consider, failed attempts at being on this big league club, and time is kind of running out for that potential to come through. The other major piece of this trade was Josh Winkowski, who I think is a little bit of a different story. Now, Josh made his major league debut in 2022 mostly because of injuries, and his time in the majors has been a bit of a roller coaster. He's had some really funny sayings after games, talking about the Cubs, talking about the Yankees. All in all, it's just kind of been a roller coaster. He's had some good outings, he's had some bad outings, but at the end of the day, day through 11 games so far, Josh Winkowski has a 4.69 ERA with a 90 ERA plus. Those aren't statistics that are going to knock your socks off, but at the same time too, this is pretty typical of a rookie pitcher. The big reason rookie pitchers have such a hard time adjusting to the major leagues is because of the skill gap between AAA or AA hitters and the major league hitters. So it's fairly normal for young pitchers to come into the major league level and struggle a little bit like Josh Winkowski has. The main difference to me between Franchy Cordero and Josh Winkowski is the fact that Josh still has a ton of room to grow. He's only 24 years old, and like I said, he made his debut because of injuries. It was almost forced upon him, something the Red Sox don't love to do. They don't love to bring up rookies and put a ton of pressure on them like they did with Josh Winkowski. We're starting to see him develop in the major leagues, but I have a good feeling the Red Sox would have liked to see this development in the minors and bring him up and slowly integrate him into this team. That didn't happen, and Josh Winkowski still, in my mind, has the potential to be a back end to middle rotation starter or a good long relief pitcher. With Cutter Crawford's emergence and hopefully the additions that the Red Sox make at the end of next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see Josh Winkowski pick up a long relief role in that bullpen and help the team that way. Either way, I think there's still a lot of potential for Josh Winkowski to be an addition to this Red Sox team in a positive way. The other three in this trade are pretty much still a mystery. Valdez playing low rookie ball, and he hasn't really been knocking any socks off, hitting just 213 last year. De La Rosa is a little bit of a different story. He also played most of this year in rookie ball, but he had an ERA of just 1.26 and a 12.6 K per 9, which got him promoted to low A a couple of days ago. As for Grant Gambrell, I have no idea where he is, to be honest with you. I went to do research on all of these guys, and I couldn't find any statistics on Grant playing in the 2022 season. The last appearance I have of Gambrell is in 2021, so I don't know if he's still playing. I don't know if he's injured. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but the other two are still kind of a mystery, and it's up in the air, which is why it's kind of hard for me to say no or yes, the Red Sox won this trade. Right now, you would have to assume it would be no, considering Benintendi's numbers and production that he's had since he left, but in my opinion, there's just too many moving parts. Franchy Cordero kind of out of the equation at this point, so I think a lot of this rests on what Josh Winkowski develops into at the major league level. Whether that's a back-end starter with a guy who sits around a 4.5 ERA for the rest of his career, or a guy who goes into the bullpen with a 2.5, 3.5 ERA for the rest of his career. Either way, if he can be a positive addition to this pitching staff, I think a lot of whether or not this trade was won or lost is going to ride on his shoulders. But at the same time too, you've got the other two, maybe three pieces, I have no idea, that are still moving around in those minor league systems. Most people have them as just depth piece, but you never know how they're going to develop. So in my opinion, it's too early to call this trade a win or a loss, but I want you guys to let me know if you have been able to come to some conclusion. Do you think that the Red Sox won or lost this Andrew Benintendi trade? And if so, why? Why do you think they lost? Why do you think they won? Or are you kind of in the middle like me, waiting to see how Winkowski develops, waiting to see if we can get anything for Cordero, if Cordero could be useful in any way, and what those three other pieces can do? So let me know all your thoughts on this trade down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, like I said at the beginning, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end of this video, you might as well hit that subscribe button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. One last thing before you guys take off, do me a favor, share this video with a friend or family member who loves the Red Sox as much as you do. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.